of GTV Breakfast. This is GTV Breakfast News coming to you live from Studio 1 here at GBC Kanda. I am Multi-Decider Sadiq. You can follow our stream at GTV Ghana on Facebook, on YouTube and on Twitter. We're streaming live there, so you can watch us there. Leave us your thoughts and your comments. On DSTV, we're on channel 278. There's a lot for you to expect on the show, but we're starting off with the news and stories making headlines this morning. We'll look at Parliament, what's happening there, and democracy, and also look at some business and finance story. Then we'll take you to the international front. The coup in Niger is still raging on. Let's start off with the Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Alban Bagbin, who has called for an all-hands-on-deck approach to grow Ghana's pledge in democracy. Now, he said the country has made significant gains in her democratic dispensation in the last 30 years, and all must support to consolidate the successes chalked up so far. Mr. Bagbin made the remarks when he called on the Guamahini or Saberi Marquisiata as part of the activities to mark 30 years of parliamentary democracy in Ghana. And moving on, let's look at what's happening in finance. To increase the awareness of the banking public in the country, the Bank of Ghana has sensitized Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA personnel, on consumer protection issues, fraud and other financial crimes. The head of Financial Stability Department of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Joseph France, said equipping customs officers with knowledge about financial crimes will help in the nation's drive to increase its revenue mobilization.
In recent times, there has been a rise in the number of complaints on the service provided by licensed financial institutions, and according to the Bank of Ghana, these complaints have bordered on issues such as delay and non-payment of investment, non-disclosure of information, interest rates calculation, restructuring of loans, remittances and other forms of financial disputes. Critically, the central bank attributes some of these complaints to knowledge gap in the financial and banking related issues, and to bridge the gap, the central bank has organized a sensitization program for officers of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority in Accra. The head of Financial Stability Department of Bank of Ghana is Dr. Joseph France.
Investor public needs to know what goes on. And usually, even though we've set up the structures for the institutions to educate the public or to explain their products very well before they get them assessed by the consumers, the central bank, and for that matter, the Bank of Ghana, has taken it upon itself to also do reinforcement by making the public get to know what goes on the market and what is safe for them to do.
The Assistant Commissioner in charge of technical training, Mr. Alphonse Kwenu, described the training as timely in that it will enable them to make informed decisions when scrutinizing documents presented to them by clients.
This program is tailored towards us as individuals, and then us again in our capacity as service providers in the industry of trade. Okay, so as individuals, it will help us to better manage our finances, identify or show the red flags that we have to take interest in, and how to best manage our finances. Let me put it that way.
The Bank of Ghana has since 2019 been organizing training on rights of consumers and types of financial fraud for state institutions and players in the financial and banking sector.
More on finance. The Ministry of Finance has stepped up its efforts towards improving public financial management and accountability in the use of public resources. At the launch of an emergency guideline, a Deputy Minister for Finance, Dr. John Kuma, said the guidelines present internal controls that will direct service delivery and ensure compliance with the various requirements of the PFM laws.
To close this in proper context, the program envisaged cumulative fiscal adjustment of 5.1 percentage points of GDP over the program period from 2023 to 2026, with a fiscal effort of 3.8 percentage points in 2023 alone. The primary deficit on commitment basis is also to be reduced from 4.2 adjusting 4.3% of GDP in 2022 to 0.5%.
Let's stay a bit longer on finance issues. The Chamber of Corporate Trustees says it is ready to participate in the Alternative Domestic Debt Exchange Program, DDP, being offered by the government of Ghana. Now, the program, this comes on the back of an early announcement by the Ministry of Finance for the restructuring of some 31 billion Ghana cedis pension funds in the second phase of its Domestic Debt Exchange Program, DDP. According to the ministry, the exercise will affect the ESLA PLC and Dachi Trust PLC.
In a statement signed by the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Corporate Trustees, Thomas Kwesi Eso, the Chamber noted it has collaborated with organized labor, with the latter providing technical advice in reaching its final decision. Government has commenced an alternative offer for pension funds exchange, inviting holders of domestic notes and bonds of the central government, ESLA PLC and Dachi Trust PLC. The government is seeking to exchange approximately 31 billion in principal amount of eligible bonds for a package of new bonds. Eligible holders tendering their eligible bonds pursuant to the invitation will receive exchange bonds of the government on the terms and subject to the conditions described in the exchange memorandum. All offers to exchange eligible bonds made by eligible holders are irrevocable, subject to withdrawal rights under certain limited circumstances.
And on education, a total of 602,457 final year junior high school students across the country are writing this year's Basic Education Certificate Examination, BECE, which started yesterday. The examination would be held simultaneously for both school and private candidates. Most BECE centers visited in Accra received the religious and moral education papers late. This resulted in a late start of the exam.
The Ayawaso East municipality has 4 centers: the Kanda cluster of schools, Nima cluster of schools, Flagstaff House School and the Lutheran Anglican School. 6 schools are writing the exam at the Kanda cluster of schools with 267 candidates. The Municipal Director of Education, Madam Adiza Jassa, encouraged the students to read the questions carefully before answering.
This is their first external examination. They have never written any external examination before. So we just came to encourage them that they should see this examination as one of their class exercises. It's not going to be different from what they've been doing in their normal school classrooms. It's just that this one is an external examination. So we have asked them to read carefully all the instructions that are given to them. Then they should write down their points before they start.
300 candidates are writing the exam at the Bethany Basic School Center. The supervisor here is Mr. Franklin Aheli.
The paper is supposed to start 9 o'clock. The paper got in around 9:20. For now, no absenteeism.
At the Jowuli Junior High School, 6 schools with 220 candidates are sitting for the exam. One was, however, absent with a permission to travel.
There's only one student who is absent from RCDAS Academy, and then she's traveled. To this morning, I even had the chance to meet a student weeping, and I asked, but I wasn't told of the reason. But the teachers came around and then consoled him. One candidate also, I learnt he was brought from the hospital to come and write. So even his medications are with me here. So just after the paper, he will come and take his drugs.
The exercise expected to begin at 9 a.m. started 25 minutes later.
More on the BECE. We bring you reports from around the country on how the exam was conducted.
Northern region, precisely the Viting Senior High School, which is one of the numerous centers scattered across the Northern region. The Northern region specifically has a little over 31,000 candidates, made up of over 16,000 males and more than 15,000 females writing this year's exams. We were at Tamale Senior High School, Ghana Senior High School, and we are currently at the Vitim Senior High School, where they have centers A, B, and C. We are at Center A now, which has a pupil or candidate population of 218. Unfortunately, 4 of them, made up of 2 boys and girls, are not present here. We are told they are not feeling too well. But we came here earlier in the morning when the pupils had just finished with their religious and moral education paper, and they were very, very upbeat about what they encountered with the RME paper. Some of them told me that the mock paper they wrote in preparation towards the BEC appeared to be much harder than the current BEC they are writing.
We have over 14,000 candidates taking part in the examination this year. The Regional Director of Education, Mr. Abdul Razak Kura, has visited some of the examination centers and shares what Peter observed with GBC News.
I think the atmosphere is looking good. We have not had any case of attempting to cheat or that kind of thing, and for which we do want to believe as the days go by, from now up to Friday, we expect that the atmosphere should continue to be like this. Turn-up is not bad.
There are 76 examination centers across the Bono East region, with a supervisor each designated to a center. Invigilators are also present at the centers. At the Techimai South Municipal, 5,125 candidates consisting of 2,408 males and 2,717 females were present for today's papers.
When GBC News got to Wa Senior High, one of the examination centers, the candidates were writing the moral and education paper. Some of the students also shared their expectations.
The exams, we wrote it well and we hope to pass.
We wrote religious and moral education today, and then I think it was okay.
For GBC News, Swala Abdul Wahab. Wow.
In the Upper East region, 22,431 candidates are certain for this year's basic education certificate examinations in 79 examination centers across the region. Among the number are 53 visually impaired candidates from the Talensi district. The Upper East Regional Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Education Service, Mr. Nathaniel Nyaba, told GBC News that although some centers received their materials late, the exams started smoothly throughout the 79 centers across the region. He said 10,578 of the candidates are males, while 11,853 are females. Some students who spoke to GBC News after the first paper were optimistic of passing the exams.
It wasn't difficult, but because it was our first time of writing external exams, we were feeling nervous.
The paper was just very easy, and I wish to get a good grade.
Accra High School on Monday paid a courtesy visit to the state broadcaster GBC to congratulate the corporation on its 88th anniversary and announce Accra High's centenary. The twofold visit was also to invite GBC to the Accra High anniversary, which is underway, with a list of activities for the significant milestone.
88 years ago, the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation was born and remains the pace-setter in the media space. The team from Accra High School's visit was for a handshake on that achievement and to also announce that AHISCO had clocked an enviable milestone of 100 years. While congratulating GBC for its hard work and dedication to the public, the headmistress of the Accra Senior High School, Madame Evelyn Sagbeo Nabia, called on the state broadcaster to join Accra High School as it turned the page into its 100th year of existence.
Our centenary will be very quiet if the media does not come, because nobody will hear of us, nobody will know that a school like that have existed for all these years, and nobody will even know what kind of activities we have lined up and we have been undertaking.
The Director General of the GBC, Professor Amin Al-Hassan, said GBC will join the school to celebrate its remarkable journey into its century.
For us, Ghana is our classroom. Wherever you are in Ghana, our educational content touches you. Those who are lucky to be having enrolled into Accra High classrooms will also be impacted with the content you do. But the bottom line is that both institutions have been selling patriotism, good citizenship, and good human relationships as part of what we do. So if you come to join us to celebrate our 88 years, it is only proper that we will also join you to celebrate your 100 years.
The school's management appealed to government and stakeholders to support Accra High's boarding facilities to enable them accommodate the students properly for the required learning experience and also admit more students to the school. Currently, the school has a student population of 2,409. Management of the school presented a game developed by one of its own and christened Gold Rush, which is akin to the local game Ludo. Gold Rush purposely creates awareness of the dangers of galamsey.
More on education. As part of activities to climax the International Girls in ICT Day, the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization has organized one-week training for 100 girls from Bono East, Bono and Ahafo regions. The girls would be touring ICT facilities to interact with women working in the ICT field. This year's celebration was themed Girls in ICT, Digital Skills for Life.
The implementation of the Girls in ICT, a flagship program by the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization, is to promote the study of ICT and STEM through training in digital skills, coding, internet safety, and mentoring. In 2022, the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization organized an open day event for 80 girls who were selected from 4 regions in the country to benefit from the ICT sector. 100 girls who performed well in the assessment from Bono East and Ahafo regions were also selected to benefit from the ICT training. This year, a total of 200 teachers and 2,000 girls have been trained. The Deputy Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Madam Ama Boateng, said the initiative of the Girls in ICT Day forms part of International Telecommunications Union's effort to encourage countries to bridge the gender-digital divide.
As a continuity measure from the training of the girls, the government has made considerable investments in digital infrastructure, including the deployment of fiber optic cables, the expansion of 4G networks, and the implementation of the Rural Telephony Project. To the young girls, I want to encourage you all to pay attention, learn and have fun in the coming days as you receive first-hand experience from females who were once like you and have excelled in various fields in ICT.
Some of the beneficiaries spoke to GBC News about the skills acquired from the ICT training.
In all my life, I have been dreaming to become an IT expert. So due to the end of this program, it will help me to achieve my goal. Today, I can make my own game in Scratch projects. It has helped me to develop interest in ICT.
The Deputy Minister commended MTN Ghana and American Tower Corporation for supporting the Girls in ICT initiative. Community information centers would be built to serve as continuous learning center for the girls after the one-week training.
We're staying a bit longer on education and the BECE, which is underway because 26 inmates from the Juvenile Correction Center are writing this year's BECE. The inmates say they are well prepared and are determined to sail through the exams.
Is the Bethany Methodist Basic School Center at Jolu in Accra, with 300 candidates from 8 different schools. It is the center for the inmates from the Juvenile Correction Center.
We went to steal a bag with laptop and tablet. So when they sentenced me, I felt so bad, but I know there is still hope. I was taught at the juvenile center, so like it was school for me. I'm very, very, very prepared, and I know I'll make it.
My case is defilement. I was sentenced 3 years. Oh, my first part was interesting and school. I was even to wrote 2021, but because of my case, and so I'm fully prepared.
The officer in charge of the Juvenile Correction Center, Deputy Director of Prisons, is Madame Millicent Owusu.
The fact that they are writing the exams outside their homes, or they are in custody and they are writing the exams, we know that it will not be very easy on them emotionally and psychologically. But we have counselors there, so getting to this time, we try to involve the counselors to talk to them, to psych their mind that wherever that you are, you can really excel. And if you are able to excel from here, you move on to the next level, which is the tertiary, the secondary school education. After writing the BEC, when they are able to excel, and which we normally do because we always get our 100%.
The exam started 25 minutes due to delays in the arrival of the papers.
You're still watching GTV Breakfast News. Now, the National Communications Authority, NCA, and its Ivorian counterpart, AIGF, are taking steps to address network interference along the borders of the two countries. This is to ensure that people living along the borders get better communication experience. The development follows various complaints from consumers about network interferences when accessing communication services. The two agencies conducted a separate fact-finding monitoring exercise along the 668-kilometer border and are followed up with a 3-day bilateral coordination meeting in Abidjan to discuss results of the studies. Advancement in technology, expansion of settlements, and economic activities necessitated an upgrade of the previous draft agreement. More on finance. The Auditor General says more than $8.3 million revenue has been lost due to the failure to enforce penalties on delayed payment of surface rental by oil companies. In contravention of Section 3 of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, Act 815, the Auditor General observed that companies which defaulted on their payments were not charged penalties or interest for late payments. Section 3 of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, Act 815 states that where the liability of an entity to make a payment is not discharged on or before the due date, the entity shall pay as a penalty an additional 5% of the original amount for each day of default or the default rate established under any other law, whichever is higher. This finding was contained in the Auditor General report on the management of petroleum funds for the period January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. Now, the report indicated that as of 31st December 2022, the total amount due from surface rentals was $2.8 million US, representing 80% of estimated receipts from surface rentals in the 2022 financial year. It noted that $1.8 million US of the outstanding amount were owed by 4 contractors whose petroleum agreements were terminated by the Ministry of Energy. The Auditor General has therefore urged the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, to ensure that all companies liable to make surface rental payments did so within the legally stipulated time frame. Now, it, among other things, called for requesting bank guarantees from prospecting companies such that any default by them could be mitigated and the performance of due diligence and robust Know Your Clients (KYC) checks on all companies seeking to carry out oil business in Ghana are done. And on security, the Executive Director of Jatike Center for Human Security and Peace Building, Mr. Adib Sani, has described as a dangerous turn of events the move by ECOWAS to issue an ultimatum to force Niger's military to reinstate Mr. Mohamed Bazoum as president. He said the move could destabilize the region and Africa in general.
A lot of the economies in Africa were badly affected because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. As far as Ukraine is from Africa, I mean, you can imagine, despite that, what we had to go through. So you can imagine, on the other hand, having a war next door, like, you know, Burkina Faso. And this would also play to the advantage of the terrorists. This is what they love to see. They love chaos. They thrive when it is chaotic.
The security analyst said ECOWAS must focus more on diplomacy rather than war to avert insurgency.
Terrorist groups that are affiliated with ISIS and Al-Qaeda are very active in the sub-region, particularly in the Sahel. The Americans and the French have been fighting the terrorists in Niger for some time now, resulting in an ambush called the Tongo ambush in 2017, in which 4 American soldiers were dastardly killed alongside 4 Nigerian soldiers. It became a huge political issue in America.
He suggested that African governments must create strategic alliances to better the lots of their citizens.
Wherever we're going to get good deals, okay, we have to go. And the fact that you go to China doesn't mean you oppose the West. The fact that you go to the West doesn't mean you oppose China. The fact that we go to Russia doesn't mean you oppose EU. And that is what Hichilema, you know, the president of Zambia, said when Kamala Harris arrived there. He said, no, we are looking everywhere. Okay, so it doesn't matter. And Africa shouldn't be an enemy to anyone. Ghana is very much part and parcel of the non-aligned since independence. Okay, we shouldn't just focus on one side.
To the international front and more on Niger, the coup leaders in Niger have closed the country's airspace until further notice, citing the threat of military intervention from their neighbors. Now it comes after the ECOWAS group of West African states demanded President Mohamed Bazoum be reinstated by Sunday. Meanwhile, the ECOWAS heads of state on Thursday, August 10, 2023, will hold another extraordinary summit on the political situation in Niger under the chairmanship of Nigerian President Mr. Bola Tinubu Ahmed in Abuja. The president will convene that extraordinary summit of authority. The summit will take place in Abuja, and the leaders will be deliberating and discussing the political situation, recent developments, and the way forward to Niger's political situation following the recent coup. Now, France has warned citizens against any travel to Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, which have sided with the junta, and Air France suspended all flights to the country. Mali and Burkina Faso also saying that they will send delegations to Niger to express their solidarity. Frederick Kujo joins us on the phone lines with the weather update. It's Tuesday. Good morning, Frederick. Hello, good morning, Frederick. Can you hear me?
Hello, good morning, Marcus. I can hear you.
Great. How is our weather looking like this Tuesday?
A very good morning to all viewers. So for the next 24 hours, mostly cloudy weather. Again, it's still expected to persist for the entire country. And then also for southern Ghana, more of intermittent light rain or drizzle are expected to prevail right from this morning through to the afternoon and then the evening. Temperatures this morning are very low, ranging from about 20 degrees Celsius to a maximum of 29 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. So for the next 24 hours, the atmosphere will be very cool across the entire country. The northern half of the country is anticipated for some isolated thunderstorms or rain from late afternoon into the evening. Don't expect so much thundery activities over those areas for today. More of cloudiness will persist across the entire country from now through to tomorrow morning. The summits and fog patches have also formed over high high grounds and then forest areas, reducing visibility to a range of 3 kilometers to 8 kilometers. So we advise that motorists will be cautious this morning.
Thank you so much for that caution as well, Frederick Ujo, warning motorists to be careful out there because cloudy weather conditions is then now till 2 a.m. But that's it for GTV Breakfast News. You know where you can get your authentic and authoritative news on gbconline.com. I am Altiti Saida Sadek. I'll be back at 7 with as the Super Falcons are out of the Women's World Cup. What are the fortunes? Who is winning that cup? I'll bring all the details when I bring you GTV Breakfast Sports at 7 a.m. But up next is breastfeeding and attachments. Our favorite midwife and our favorite baby doll is in the studio. I'm sure you'd want to know all about breastfeeding and attachments. A bit later, in discipline in senior high schools, where and when did it start? Stay with Breakfast.